Hello, thank you for having me. My name is Valerio, I'm an Italian illustrator. I will be talking about the forest. The forest is already a few years old. It was published in 2020, I think, or 19? 19, you're right. But the process, it took seven years to be made. It starts with the author of the text is Riccardo Bozzi, which is an Italian newspaper journalist. Yeah, I used to work with his wife, which is an Italian-American literary agent. We worked many times. She will move my book around and find publisher. And one day she asked me if I wanted to illustrate a text of his husband. She showed me the text, and I really loved the text, the story, the concept of Riccardo idea was a sort of like a documentaristic. It was a text about. It starts saying it talk about the forest and use the forest as a metaphor of life. Beginning saying, in the beginning the forest is a grove of young pine trees. It has a certain limit straight ahead, but the sides are boundless. Every day new explorers set out on solitary mission to experience the mystery and beauty of the forest. And after a while, when the book goes on and the forests grow thicker and harder to penetrate, eventually it ends up in a big mountain where all the explorers end up climbing. Nobody can give up on climbing it. And well, the peculiarity of this text is that it literally says at the end of the climb there is a ravine into which each explorer will eventually fall, despite all the precaution taken and all advancement of science. So this is not just talking about life, but it's talking about death. And the part about the book is a quite beautiful metaphor of life, but the ending of the book, it doesn't say the words death, but it's not much of a metaphor because it's a quite figuratively metaphor of death. It's pretty much what happened when you fall out of a ravine. So I thought it was. On one side, I thought this is an opportunity to do something that interests me, because when you are working as an illustrator on commission, very often you are dealing with children's books that are not that interesting, are mostly on the commercial side, and I thought, oh, this is something new, I really want to do it. On the other hand, I didn't know how this was going to be possible as a publishing product. So at the time, well, I showed this book to my partner, which was also is still an illustrator, which is Violeta Lopez, and she asked me if she could do this with me. So it was for us an occasion of working on something common and to a little bit go crazy with it. So our first idea, which was a bit strange, but we were trying in find a way to avoid the ending somehow. We could not see to do like a book where the ending was a figurative depiction of death, because it's a very hard topic and it's very harsh. It's something that we are deeply afraid of. Personally, I cannot think about it for more than 5 minutes straight without spiraling a little bit. So the first idea was we came out with this concept, which was like a stack of paper that were glued together and were decuts. There was like a star, and it was like an object where there were no leaves, there were no pages, but you would pull out this triangle, and you would find message and word, and you will just go inside of this book, and when you meet the ravine, you would come out on the other side. It was, it was a bit reaching. We worked quite a bit. We worked for months on this. We did models and tried to find out if we could make like a sort of storytelling out of this. And when we show it to Debbie and Ricardo, the author of The Agent, they said, no, this is insane. This is not even anything. This is not a book. This is, I wouldn't know where to go with this. And we got very sad because we were doing this in friendship, and it's strange when you're working with an author and you don't have a publisher already behind it, because you are taking a lot of risk working on a project, because you are investing a lot of your time, and at the same time you are answering to a person who is your peer, is not really your superior. Like the collaboration between writer and illustrator is paritarian, but at the same time, in this situation, he can say no to us, which is completely understandable on his side, but at the same time, it kind of like was a drag for us. And so, okay, we start looking for a new direction. They wanted a traditional book. They want, well, obviously they wanted a book that you could flip through. And so we started exploring new ways, but at the end, we found some nice things we liked, but at the end we couldn't really deal with the ending of the book. We couldn't find anything that we felt like it was remotely publishable. It wasn't a closing, it was like something strange. And we kind of ran out of time. Violeta had a previous commitment at the point, after like 6 months. We were flying to Lisbon to live there for a few months because she had a contract with a Portuguese publisher. So she knew she wasn't, like on Monday she was gonna start a new book. So I was gonna be left alone with this thing. And the plane almost crashed, and I remember she made this sketch. Okay, she was very upset. She was angry with Ricardo and Debbie. And she said, let's make a series of faces, you know, a face of a child that became a face of a teenager, that became a face of a young man, that became an adult, and that became an elderly, that became a skull, and that became a skull ridden with worms, and and then at the end there is leaves coming out of the skull. We laughed about it, but I thought, well, this is obviously crazy. I mean, the problem is that there is no forest, but maybe if we take out the skull part and the rotting flesh, we actually can work with that. So I thought maybe we can use some kind of like paper cut or pop-up to see through the eyes or connect what this portrait, and create like a rhythm between the explorers and the life that the explorer are experiencing. So this is when I work in books, I always, well, a little bit like I like to work in very small format, because it allows me to forget all the detail and getting lost in insignificant things, but you just go to the straight, because you can't. You just everything that matters becomes the composition and the storytelling. So drawing in little papers that you can move around, you can see very fast what is the rhythm and what is missing in the narrative. I find it like it's a very good way of working for me. Sorry, I'm going fast now. So, well, they liked this idea. So we went ahead. Violeta was working on the other book. While I was working on this, we were sharing a big table in a house in Lisbon, and we finished. We did a model. We decided to create like an identity, a wall between the character and the forest. So the book has two languages, the languages of paper and texture that represent the human beings, and the language of color, which represented nature. This is also like a symbolic representation of how humans have always felt like their own thing, like they see themselves like they exited the world of nature, like they have evolved to be their own thing. This was a trick, like a narrative trick I have also used in the past, and I'm familiar with. So the narrative of the book is one page with a portrait, followed by a page of forest. And they are connected through the eyes, or sometimes the mouth, or sometimes something else. And now the book is made this way, which was very difficult to be made. And at the beginning, we didn't believe this could ever be possible because it was just too expensive. So I thought maybe we can use this language and take. I make the original artwork with embossing, which this is some model. They were hand cutted, and I was using it to like a etching press to make the portrait. At the beginning, the portraits were very graphical, but eventually I tried to go towards a more like warm, human feeling. I felt like when I was showing the project to people, some people they felt like their face were a little scary and inhumane. So these are the original embossing, which then have had to be adapted to what the machine can do and can't do. So there is much less like fine texture, but there is like a more like soft pressing. It's very difficult. Well, I'm showing you this and you are not seeing anything. The portrait is here. You have to see it with the light, and the sunlight helps. So because we didn't believe this was possible, I was doing all this work because I thought, okay, we can use this kind of storytelling. Nobody will made it for real, but we can take a very nice picture and have the embossing and paperwork be printed, which isn't ideal, but at the time it's what we came out with. But then we had a big fight with everybody, and we said we are only gonna do this book if you do like the best of the best. And we wanted, because we were earning very little money, and we felt like they weren't treating us nicely, and we only wanted to do this. We like for one time in the life, like no compromise at all. So we wanted exactly to be how it was supposed to be. So we went all in for like, and nobody wanted to do it. It took 2 years to find a publisher, which was Claudia Bedrick of Enchanted Lion, which the book is dedicated to her, because we love her, and she's a difficult but very sweet person. And well, yeah, the ending of the book. The reason this storytelling works now is because I'm gonna read the book. It's very quickly. Sorry, I'm a bit nervous. So the book starts. Oh, you can see a little bit here. It is an enormous ancient forest. It has yet not been fully explored. In the beginning, the forest is a grove of young pine trees. It is usually free of danger and quite fun to wander through. So at this point, we wanted to put the focus. When you are a child, for me, you are always close to the floor. So for me, childhood, my memory is very much about watching things up close. The bug, the hands, the little thing that lives to really observe and to be bored also. So here we have like, just weeds with some bugs. Then it follows. It is said that the forest has a certain limit if you look straight ahead, but the sides are boundless. Here is where the explorer can venture with enjoyment and curiosity. So again, we stay with this. The little girl is a little bit grown up, is not a baby anymore. They invent complicated games using rocks, numbers, branches, moss, words, and footsteps. They sing songs that they seem to go on forever until their throat start hurting. Oh, go horse. Every day, new explorers set out on solitary missions to experience the mystery of the forest and to investigate its beauty and dangers. As they move forward, the forests grow thicker. It becomes both more difficult to penetrate and more fascinating. In this part of the forest, the explorer usually realizes they are not alone after all, and that they are surrounded by other travelers. Here we wanted not just to, like this big reflection on water. For us is also like a symbol, like when you are a young adult and you start not only to know a little bit how the world works, but also about yourself. So we wanted this image of reflection as a symbol of that. From these encounters grow friendship, rivalry, sometimes even loves. And here we have, the book is made with Japanese, Korean binding, so to make the embossing possible, every page is double. So in certain cases, we were able to make gatefold, so pages that open up. Open up like this. So when it says even loves, you can open and you have the two characters facing each other instead of being on the back of the same page. From early on, the explorer developed a curious habit. At night, they gather around the fire and tell each other stories to keep the animals and their own fears at bay. Much like the animals that inhabit the forest, the explorer represents a wide variety of types: tall, short, dark, light. Here, instead of using a portrait of a person, we decide to go to do a double thing with microcosm and microcosm. That for us was also a way to talk about science and spirituality, because originally we had made like a sort of ethnic mask, like something folkloric, that was a sort of representation of human history with religion, but it didn't work some people thought it was the devil, so we end up doing this bacteria unicellular drawing that when it opened the gatefold is the cosmos. Impulsive, ferocious, mild, happy, sad, nervous, or quiet. Some choose to help each other out, while others prefer to push on alone. Along the way, many explorers develop another peculiar habit. They take notes and carve them into stone, or leave them rolled up in the hollow of trees. This is a page that, for us, we wanted this to be about human heritage, because we are not just a lonely explorer, but we are a society. There is a whole evolution history to be talked about, if this is really about life in general. So we did a pretty extensive study about the history of pictograph and hieroglyphs. Violeta went a little bit crazy with this. So the following portrait, his eyes are coinciding with hieroglyphs. And the text follow. Some of these notes, true not all, are extremely important and will be treasured by future explorers. At this point, the forest is nothing but a tangle. Each step forward leads to scars and bruises, but as far as we know, there is no turning back. We put, we made many different portraits. We put some effort trying to include a certain amount of ambiguity in race, because we wanted to be as inclusive as possible. Obviously, it's only 10 portraits, so it wasn't. Fortunately, now and again, a small clearing appears, where the explorer can pause and rest. Here, instead of having a portrait of a face, we have two hands, which to me, they are like a clearing, and also there is pretty much every culture have chiromancy, palm reading. It's a way of, it's something that is shared worldwide, and I thought it was a good symbol of that. Sometime, looking up, they glimpse the same shade of blue or green that they saw at the beginning of the journey. They smile and continue onward. This is when you reach a certain age that you become more nostalgic and you look back at your life. This is a portrait of a friend, of the mother of a friend that passed away recently. In the final stretch, the forest becomes even more arid and barren. The climb is very difficult, the last part nearly a vertical wall, but all of the explorers continue to climb diligently, regardless of the pain and hardship. At the end of the climb, there is a ravine into which each explorer will eventually fall, despite the precaution taken and the advancement of science. So here, for the first time, we have a portrait of an old lady with the closed eyes. And the following pages, the portrait is fading and only the age line are left. And slowly, there is new growth of leaves coming out. And the last sentence is, some says there is a nobody knows what's lay beyond the forest. Some says there is a grove of young pine trees. And this is like a photogram before the first page of the book, so makes it like a circular story, so it's a circle of life. Well, this is the American edition, which another thing we wanted, because the book is fairly unusual for the market. We didn't want the book to have a title. We wanted the book to have something that could catch the eye, but this is only the American publisher did this because the other publisher couldn't consider to have a book without the name of the author or a title, because it makes it difficult to be tracked inside of the bookshop. And this is pretty much it. I made it very quickly, no? Good for me.
Including the interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you for the fantastic talk. Thank you for this fantastic pics inside the book. For those of you who are already lucky and got their copies from our bookshop, Valerio could sign them right after. For those of you who haven't touched it yet or seen it, you can find the book in the exhibition. And Valerio is here to answer any questions or listen to any comments you might have.
Hello.
Hello.
You said it took you 7 years?
Yeah, from the time we started. Well, 7 years is not like we are working every day, 8 to 5.
It's very difficult to be constant and for so many years to...
Well, it was like, it was a very frustrating process at times, and you always, when you are doing commission work, you are always juggling different things, so it was an on and off things, and often when we see it, we felt too bad to just quit it after putting so much time, but at the same time there were a long period where we couldn't see going anywhere, because even when the book was done and it was like all the little things that they didn't work early on, they were fixed. Like when we had the final product, still was very difficult to find a publisher. So 7 years account also to the struggle to adapt the book. Once we found the publisher, we had a couple of pages after Claudia bought the rights, and then there are a few more years to wait for the whole thing to get together and all the co-edition to actually publish the book. So yeah, it took some time, but it wasn't 7 years of drawing. It was probably 2 years of drawing.
Would you do it again?
No. Well, yes. It was. This is my second experience working with somebody else, and it is hard. I mean, the first book was the feeling of collaboration was very smooth and wonderful. And with Violetta, with all the love I have for her, it was hard. It was like we fought quite a bit about it, and it was great when it was done, but during we suffered quite a bit. But yeah, probably I wouldn't change it now. Now I'm very happy with it. Yes?
What was the most challenging part of the whole project, like the hardest thing for you?
The hardest thing was to work with, to adjust the rhythm of work, because yes, Violetta and I, we have a similar taste and similar way of thinking, but we have completely different speed. I need to take it very slowly and to start doing things. And when I could start to do something, she was already, she had already did something and was like, no, this is not working. So I felt like like very constantly frustrated because she was too fast for me. She was faster, she's smarter than me, I guess. She couldn't keep up, so it actually worked better between us when I took over the graphical part, and she was mostly directing me, like, yeah. Because she had to do, well, I was doing the same with the book she was doing, but it's difficult when you don't know exactly how to separate the task. It's very difficult to delegate, and sometimes you become resentful for silly things.
The drawings are yours and
The drawings are mine, almost entirely.
okay.
There are a few things.
I
But this is just the, you know, it's not just the drawing, because she did a lot of sketches, so maybe the final drawing is mine, but the composition, some of them come from her, and some drawing of character come from her. So to me it's impossible to, it's not like she did the concept and I did the illustration. It's very mixed up.
That's what you had in mind in the beginning of how to make the book, or because
We really
it's
didn't.
to combine
Yes,
sides, you know?
it is, but we really didn't think about it. Like, I think we didn't really, we just wanted to spend more time doing something nice, but we really didn't give it much of a thought how it would go. We had worked previously in other things, but smaller thing, not something so complicated. Yeah. But it's beautiful to work with somebody else. Like, it's when you get stuck, you don't need to just keep being stuck. You can just go for a walk and you come back and the thing magically fixed itself. So it is really amazing. Especially if you're working with somebody who is very, very talented.
Have you read it to children? Have you seen the reactions of children when they read the book?
Yes.
It's
Yes.
very adult, this picture book. For
It,
me, also for adults.
honestly, I didn't read it personally to many, but I've seen it. We gave workshop and lecture in schools, and I think it's bestly read like one-on-one with your child or a child, and I think. I don't know. I think there is an age where children want to know certain things, and this can be like a beautiful tool. Also, I think children can easily enjoy this book without really having to have a speech about what is it the end. I think you can read it in different ages and take away something enjoyable. Without, I don't know, I feel like there is an issue with the public. A lot of people feel like this is not a children's book. There are some very angry reviews in Amazon of people like, this is not, I don't know, I don't have that problem. I don't think there is a taboo topic. There is like, you know, there is no wrong topic. There is like a wrong way of talking about something maybe, or wrong moment. But I think the book is for everyone. Yes?
Great question. For what's your opinion about the end of life? In the end, there is death. Like eventually will come all living things, and then the cycle starts again with the new plants growing. But you said that the book ends with the same picture that it starts. So is it for you that the new plants are the new lives that other human beings or whatever start their cycle, or that just the cycle gets restart again for the person that died, like reincarnation, which is
No.
in many religions giving hope, because I didn't find it like pessimistic the end.
No. I don't feel it's pessimistic. I wasn't thinking about reincarnation. That wasn't the thing. To me, is like, well, this is like a scientific thing. No, there is nothing. Like everything is recycled, no, in the planet. Like I will become something else, that will become something else, and then, sure. I don't think I'm not going that far. I just think, yeah. I feel to see those. This is a kind of thinking that I found comfort in, to think of recycling.
Me too, but I went a little further.
Yes, no, I am not looking in to become something like an animal or whatever. Also, the book doesn't have really a birth. It just have like people becoming forest. Anybody else?
Actually, I have a question from someone who couldn't be.
Yes.
on
Yeah.
today, yes. So he wanted to know if you're working on the scale of the book or if you're doing the drawings on a bigger scale.
The original are a little, are a little bigger. I would say 10, 10 centimeter bigger than the book. Yeah.
And he has another question. If the flowers and trees and all the vegetation is actually existing or if it's imaginary?
Some of them are. I think they all probably. I mean, I don't know. I wasn't. Some of them we drew them because we know them, but other are kind of like. I'm not sure anymore. Yeah, I mean, this is a monkey tree. Yeah. This is a monkey tree. But probably there are, I'm sure. I mean, I wasn't having like a botanical book by my side, but there are so many things in nature that I find very difficult to imagine that I invented something. Like, it will be very difficult. I probably draw it badly, but it's out there somewhere.
Any other question or comment?
I wanted to ask, did the text change during all the process?
A little bit. We asked, after we found a publisher in Chatted Lion, we felt like the book was lacking certain aspects. We asked Ricardo to write few more sentences. We wanted to stretch out a little bit the childhood, because we felt was the period of life that is most, is the most emotional and the most. There are many things you can talk about it, and then we asked him to add a page about human heritage and few things that I felt it would make the book more deep, more complex, because his text in the beginning was very beautiful, but it was very short. It was a little bit like a poem. We felt you were reading it and it will go on very, very fast, and at the end something was missing. And
So many things in that book, so I was...
Yes, but well, also the publisher had her comment and a few changes here and there, little tweaks.
So many symbols and meanings behind.
Yeah, but some of those symbols we realized after doing it.